Hey, it's me, MLB. Here is part 3 of On Me, Midnight X Mail Listener. Enjoy. Your wow echoed around the empty concrete stairwell, and then you gently took your bag from her grasp and thanked her quietly. Didn't think you still had reflexes like that, you commented dryly. Hero is never off duty, she slurred, and you smirked at the humour of the whole situation. After getting her adjusted, you traipsed the last of the steps up to your apartment and leaned her against your side while fumbling in your bag for the keys. Finally, you found them and pulled them out and then pushed them into the lock and opened your door. You hoped none of your nosy neighbours were still awake at that hour, otherwise there would have been wagging tongues in the morning, gossiping about how you'd brought home a very drunk girl the other night, and how dare you. They would have all assumed the worst, thinking that you were just a basic male taking advantage of a vulnerable situation, but you rathered that than the alternative, which is having Nemuri end up in a horrible situation. Although, after seeing her catch your bag with lightning-quick reflexes, you wondered if her instincts would have kicked in at some point and she would have beat up anyone who was trying to harm her anyway. You slowly walked her in and sat her down on your couch, not bothering to correct her posture as she slumped sideways and lay there mangled and motionless. I'll just make sure the bed is made up, you said to the sad lump on the couch that was her, and then headed off to the spare room to make sure the bed there was ready for the unexpected guest. Oh, don't mind Jinx. She'll walk all over you, but that's about it, you called as you headed off down the hall. Who? Nemuri slurred as she opened her eyes and tried to sit up. Suddenly, there was a small, furry face peering into hers, and she pulled her face back a bit to try and register what this thing was in front of her. Oh, hi, kitty, she slurred, reaching a cautious hand to this fluffy grey puss who had just appeared. Jinx lifted her head up to meet Nemuri's hand and rubbed her head all over her palm, back arching and tail up and quivering as she tried to get as much pat in as possible. Your girl's cute, Nemuri called in a loud, semi-unhinged voice to you, unsure if you could hear her from where she was. Thanks, you called back. Having a very friendly kitty begging for pats gave Nemuri a little bit more of sobering power, and she righted herself and Jinx walked onto her lap. Hey, she said as she patted and scratched this purring ball of affection that walked back and forth across her legs, head butting and arching wildly with each pass. Jinx, you said with disappointment as you came back into the room and saw the show that was happening on the couch. You let me pat you once a day. Why are you like this? She loves me because I'm a woman, Nemuri said, still slightly drunk and making that her reason for the cat being so friendly towards her. In her sloshed state, that was logical reasoning 101. Well, woman, your room is ready, you said with a small huff, gesturing widely down the hall. Kind of you, she slurred as she went to get up off the couch. She teetered a little, and you were worried she was going to fall over, so you moved quickly to grab her. I'm fine, she said as she fell into your arms. Of course you are, you replied dryly. With another round of helping, you supported her down the hall to your spare room and walked her in over to the bed. She let go of you and fell onto the bed, bouncing a few times on it on her front. Okay, you sleep now, you said, and then turned to go. Right, she mumbled into the bed. Don't go. I'm just going to get something to eat, and I'm going to bed, you said to her. You had stopped when she called out to you, but you hadn't turned around. You were still facing the door. When she didn't say anything else, you left, switching off the light as you left the room. Jinx eyed you as you walked to the kitchen, and then ran over to wind around your legs when she saw you stop in front of the fridge. Oh, I see. Because I'm where the food is at, you're now all friendly, you said dryly to her, letting her arch up against the side of your leg and wind her tail around your calf. She just meowed in reply, and you stepped aside to open the fridge. You knew you had some leftover takeaway in there, so pulled it out and cracked the lid off it to do the mandatory sniff test. It still smelled okay, so you did the quick maths. Only 2 days ago. It'll be fine, you thought as you closed the fridge door and lifted the container up to the microwave and then placed it inside and pressed the reheat button. With your food now heating up, you walked to the cupboard to get some food for Jinx. She was eager for some good tucker, so you got her bowl and readied her food as quickly as you could, then went back to retrieve your own food once the microwave had beeped to let you know it was done. No sooner had your backside hit the chair at the kitchen bench than a drunken and disorderly woman sauntered into view. No, you groaned when you saw her staggering over to you. Oh, food, she moaned, falling onto your shoulder. Go and find something yourself. If you can find food, then you can eat it. If you're too drunk to find anything, then you won't be eating anything, you said dryly, lifting a spoonful of your dish to your lips. She groaned and pushed off you, and then staggered to your fridge and pulled the door open. "There's nothing here," she said. "Yes, because I live here on my own, and I'm eating the only food available here," you commented. "What about me, then?" she asked. "Like I said, find something," he replied, shoveling more food into your mouth. "Wasn't expecting company." She closed your fridge, and then swayed over to your cupboard and pulled the door open there to have a look in. You could hear her rummaging around in there, but couldn't see what she had picked up until she pulled back with a bag of Dorito chips and a bottle of wine. "No," you said firmly when you saw the wine bottle in her hand. "But I found something," she exclaimed. You got up from your seat. "No. Wine, no. Dorito chips, yes," you said, reaching out to take the wine bottle from her hand. "No," she said, holding it away from you. "My place, my rules. Give me my wine," you said, reaching out further to take it from her. She pulled it back even further and you reached across to her, your chest against hers. "I said give it to me," you stated firmly. "You can't just drink yourself into the ground and wallow for the rest of your life. Thought you'd be better than this." What you said must have struck her, because she froze, long enough for you to take the wine bottle from her, and then you left her standing there while you turned to put it back in your cupboard. You turned to go back to your food when you heard soft sobbing and looked over at her. "Ugh," you thought, when you saw she'd fallen apart. "You're right," she drunken sobbed. "Who wants this old hag?" The look on your face really didn't help at all because you looked so done with the situation. You'd had a weak moment in wanting to help her be safe, but now you had this giant baby on your hands who was begging for love and affection. Things you didn't really know how to give, but hey, no better time to learn than the present, right? You warred with yourself for a second, and then chose food, and walked back over to your seat to continue eating, and she wobbled over with her bag of Doritos and sat down next to you. "Would anyone ever want me?" she sniffed, ripping the bag of Dorito chips open. "What do you think?" you asked back to her, still shoveling food down. "Well, I keep saying anyone, but all I really want is you. You play so hard to get, and I love the chase, but would you ever really take me seriously?" she asked, her drunken mouth speaking thoughts from a sober heart. "I don't know you," you stated calmly. "But could you get to know me?" she asked, almost beggingly. "Listen," you said to her, "I'll be honest. I don't go for the girls that throw themselves at me. If they're doing that for me, then they're doing that for others too. No thanks. Cheap and easy, it's not for me." Yin definitely does have those blunt Aizawa vibes, doesn't he? Stay tuned for the next part of On Me coming next week. I'll see you then.